Your 20s are often painted as the golden years, a time for self-discovery, freedom, and the pursuit of endless adventure. You're told to live without regrets, to make mistakes, and to find your way. The world encourages you to take risks, chase experiences, and embrace the wild, untamed spirit of youth. But here's the catch. Most people look back on their 20s with deep regret. And it's not because they didn't have fun or weren't busy. It's because they didn't fully understand the weight of time during those years. They didn't realize that the habits they were forming, the decisions they were making, were shaping their future, often in ways they couldn't foresee. By the time they hit 30, they're left wondering, what did I really do with that decade? The truth is, your 20s are a crossroads. They are the years when you're supposed to lay the groundwork for your life. But many spend them distracted by fleeting pleasures or paralyzed by indecision. This isn't about turning your 20s into a perfect blueprint, but about understanding that the decisions you make now, or avoid making, will impact you far beyond this decade. So, what happens when you look back at your 20s and wish you had done things differently? What are the things you'll wish you had known sooner? Let's explore the 5 biggest regrets people have after their 20s and how you can avoid them. In your 20s, the pressure to fit in can feel overwhelming. Social media constantly bombards us with images of what success, beauty, and happiness should look like. Friends and family unknowingly place expectations on you, guiding you toward careers, relationships, and lifestyles that align with their own ideals of success. And somewhere along the way, you begin to measure your worth based on the approval of others. It's a subtle shift that happens when you're young. You start living for external validation rather than for yourself. You chase after likes, follows, and comments, thinking these digital affirmations will make you feel complete. You pursue a career that sounds impressive rather than one that aligns with your passions, because you want to make your parents proud or impress your peers. You stay in relationships, not because they fulfill you, but because the idea of being single feels like failure. For a long time, you might not even realize you're doing it. It feels normal. After all, everyone else is doing the same thing, right? But in truth, you're sacrificing your own desires for someone else's idea of success. Here's the reality. The more you chase approval, the more you drift away from your true self. You might look back in your 30s and wonder how you got to where you are, wondering why you're not as fulfilled as you thought you would be. As your 20s slip by, those years spent trying to be what everyone else wants you to be accumulate into something you'll eventually regret. You'll realize that you were never really living for yourself, but for the applause of others. The work you did, the relationships you maintained, and the choices you made were never really your own. They were built on the shifting sands of others' opinions. By the time you hit your 30s, the realization hits hard. You've spent too much time trying to be liked, and not enough time discovering who you really are. And while the validation from others is fleeting, the regret of not listening to your own voice will stick with you. What if, instead of chasing the approval of others, you chose to honor your own desires? What if you stopped trying to fit into molds that never truly suited you and started creating your own? The most important thing you can do in your 20s is stop living to meet someone else's expectations. The more you try to please others, the more you lose sight of what will actually make you happy. Your 20s are for experimenting, yes, but they are also for finding your authentic self. The freedom you think you're getting by following the crowd is actually a prison. True freedom is in making choices based on what you really want, not based on how others see you. So, as you move through this decade, remember this. Don't waste your time chasing approval. Instead, spend your energy discovering who you truly are. In your 20s, it's easy to feel invincible. The late nights, fast food, lack of exercise, they all feel like they come with a built-in safety net. I'm young, I can bounce back, you tell yourself. But here's the hard truth. Not prioritizing your health in your 20s is a mistake you will regret deeply later. You don't feel the effects of skipping the gym or choosing a second helping of dessert today. But years later, when your body starts showing the consequences of neglect, it's a different story. The habits you build now will either support or sabotage your long-term well-being. And as you get older, fixing these habits isn't just about motivation. It becomes about maintaining a quality of life. In your 20s, it's easy to push health to the back burner when there are so many other distractions: career goals, social pressures, relationships, and the desire to live in the moment. Who wants to go for a run when there's a party to attend? Who wants to meal prep when a late-night fast food run feels like the perfect antidote to stress? But think about this. The choices you make now aren't just about looking good in the moment. They affect your energy, your mood, your confidence, and your ability to do the things you love as you age. Your body needs care, attention, and consistent maintenance. The longer you ignore your health in your 20s, the harder it will be to get back on track later. This isn't just physical health, it's mental health too. In your 20s, you might feel like you have the mental bandwidth to push through stress, anxiety, and burnout. You may ignore the signs your body gives you: the fatigue, the sleepless nights, the constant feeling of overwhelm. But mental health doesn't magically reset as you grow older. In fact, the longer you suppress your emotions and stress, the harder it becomes to manage them as life gets more complicated. By your 30s, the lack of healthy habits becomes more apparent. You may find yourself dealing with chronic issues you could have avoided, or managing mental health struggles that started earlier. And the worst part, you'll realize that your 20s were the time you should have invested in your most important asset: your health. Here's the thing. It's not about perfection. You don't have to be a gym addict or eat perfectly. But the key is balance and consistency. A simple walk, a balanced meal, good sleep. These can make all the difference when it comes to how you feel and how well your body and mind function in the years to come. The good news is, it's never too late to start prioritizing your health. But the earlier you make those small changes, the more you'll thank yourself in the future. Your 20s are your foundation for a long and healthy life. You owe it to yourself to put your well-being first. Because one thing is for sure: without your health, nothing else matters. When you're in your 20s, the world feels full of endless possibilities. Yet for many, it's also a time defined by fear. The fear of failure, rejection, or looking foolish. Society pushes the idea of playing it safe. Go to college, get the job, buy the house, settle down. But here's the problem. You'll never experience true growth if you're always playing it safe. The truth is, your 20s are the best time to take risks, but most people squander them. You're still figuring out who you are, and there's a freedom in that. the stakes aren't as high as they will be later in life. You don't have the same responsibilities, and you likely don't have the same long-term commitments that might make taking a leap more difficult. The risk of failure isn't nearly as daunting when you're young, but somehow, many still allow fear to hold them back. Maybe it's a business idea you've always had, but never acted on because you're afraid it will fail. Maybe it's moving to a new city to chase a dream, but you're paralyzed by the idea of starting over. Perhaps it's pursuing a creative passion, like writing or painting, but you're convinced there's no future in it. But here's the catch. Failure is the best teacher. You won't learn or grow if you don't step out of your comfort zone. And the regret you'll feel later on in life isn't from the mistakes you made, but from the chances you didn't take. When you reach your 30s or beyond, you'll realize that playing it safe didn't protect you. It merely held you back. You'll look at others who took risks, even small ones, and see how those choices shaped their lives in ways you never imagined. They may have failed along the way, but they also grew, adapted, and moved forward. They learned invaluable lessons that you can only learn by doing. In your 20s, it's okay to fail. It's okay to stumble. But what's worse than failure is the fear of never trying at all. The world rewards those who dare to take risks. Whether it's a career change, starting a business, moving abroad, or even just challenging your own beliefs. The time to take risks is now. The road ahead will get harder, and opportunities will narrow. Your 20s are the perfect opportunity to stretch your boundaries, make mistakes, and grow into the person you want to be. Don't look back and regret not taking that leap of faith. In your 20s, friendships and relationships often take on a light-hearted, carefree vibe. You meet people in bars, at parties, or through mutual friends, and the connections seem natural, easy, and fleeting. But while it might feel like you're surrounded by people, it's easy to fall into the trap of quantity over quality. You think having a large social circle means you're well-connected and fulfilled. But as you grow older, you realize that the true value of relationships lies not in how many people you know, but in the depth of the connections you form. You may have spent your 20s surrounded by people, yet still felt lonely. You may have invested in relationships that were shallow, or tried to hold on to friendships that no longer served you. And in doing so, you missed out on the chance to cultivate the kind of deep, meaningful relationships that offer emotional support, shared wisdom, and real connection. In your 20s, it's tempting to be caught up in the whirlwind of parties, new acquaintances, and casual hangouts. But as you get older, you'll come to realize that the most important people in your life are the ones who truly know you, the ones who challenge you, encourage you, and keep you grounded. These are the people who will be there for you when life gets tough, and who will celebrate your victories with you. Sadly, many people neglect these relationships in their 20s. They fail to prioritize their closest friends or partners, choosing instead to spread themselves thin over a vast number of acquaintances. Or worse, they might not even realize that a meaningful relationship takes time and effort. You can't build a true, lasting connection if you aren't willing to be vulnerable, to show up, and to invest in the people who matter most. By your 30s, you'll realize that the number of Facebook friends or Instagram followers doesn't matter as much as the handful of people who have been with you through thick and thin. You'll look back and wish you had nurtured those relationships more. spent more time with the people who made you feel truly understood, and been more intentional about cultivating quality friendships. Now, this isn't to say you should cut people off or abandon socializing, but think about how you're investing in the relationships around you. Are you building connections that nourish your soul, or just collecting names? Are you letting important people drift away because they don't fit into your busy life, only to realize too late that those relationships were the ones that could have helped you through your most difficult times? In the end, it's the quality of your relationships that will define your life. Focus on building a few solid, real connections, the ones that stand the test of time, that shape your character and provide you with the support you need. When you look back, you'll be grateful for the deep, meaningful relationships that you intentionally cultivated, and you'll wish you'd focused on them earlier in life. Your 20s are the ultimate opportunity for self-improvement, yet it's also the decade when many people ignore their own growth. It's a time when the world is constantly changing, and you're expected to evolve with it. But instead of actively engaging in personal development, many spend their 20s distracted by the moment, focusing on external achievements or chasing things that don't truly fulfill them. You're in the prime of your life, filled with energy and ambition. And yet, how many times do you find yourself stuck in the same routine, the same habits? You might tell yourself, "I'll read more books later," or "I'll work on myself when I'm more settled." But here's the truth. Personal growth isn't something that just happens on its own. It requires intention, commitment, and a willingness to step outside your comfort zone. Whether it's learning new skills, working on your mindset, or tackling your fears, growth is an active pursuit. In your 20s, it's easy to fall into the trap of waiting for the perfect time to start investing in yourself. But the longer you wait, the harder it becomes. You'll look back in your 30s and wonder why you didn't take the opportunity to develop the skills, mindset, and habits that would have prepared you for a more successful, fulfilling life. Personal growth isn't just about career success or climbing the ladder. It's about becoming the person you want to be, both inside and out. It's about strengthening your emotional intelligence, learning to manage your time effectively, building resilience, and understanding who you are at a deeper level. It's about investing in your future self, your future happiness, your future relationships, your future success. And yet, many people spend their 20s coasting, thinking that growth will come naturally over time, or that they'll figure it out later. The reality is, you're either growing or stagnating. You're either investing in becoming a better version of yourself, or letting time pass without creating any meaningful change. As your 20s slip by, it's easy to get distracted by short-term goals, external validation, and the pressure of meeting societal milestones. But what really matters is the internal work, the work you do on your mindset, your habits, your strengths, and your weaknesses. And here's the kicker. Personal growth compounds over time. The work you put in now pays off exponentially in the years ahead. The books you read, the courses you take, the mindset shifts you make. They all set the stage for your future success, happiness, and peace of mind. By the time you reach your 30s, you'll be grateful for the efforts you made to grow, and you'll wish you had invested in yourself even earlier. So, don't wait. Start now. Read the books. Take the courses. Push yourself to grow in ways that feel uncomfortable. Learn to fail to adapt, and to push through challenges. Your future self will thank you. Looking back, most regrets from your 20s aren't about the things you did. They're about the things you didn't do. The chances you didn't take. The boundaries you didn't set. The time you didn't protect. The person you didn't become because you were too afraid, too distracted, or too focused on what didn't matter. But here's the thing. Regret doesn't have to define you. It can refine you. If you're still in your 20s, this is your moment. Not to panic, not to feel guilt, but to wake up. To realize that this decade is more than a free-for-all or a waiting room before real life begins. Your 20s are real life. They're not a draft version. They're the foundation for everything that comes next. And if you're already past that stage, it's not too late. Regret can be a powerful teacher if you let it. What we regret most as we grow older isn't that we didn't have fun. It's that we didn't live intentionally, that we didn't choose growth over comfort, depth over approval, vision over fear. You don't have to overhaul your entire life overnight. Start small. Be honest with yourself. Where are you coasting? What habits are you building that your future self will thank you for or resent you for? Ask yourself hard questions and be willing to sit with the discomfort of the answers. Remember, you don't have to follow the timeline everyone else is on. You don't need everyone to like you. You don't have to have it all figured out. But you do have to care enough to start figuring you out. The 20s are a gift. A fragile, fleeting gift that feels infinite until it's gone. But regret only wins if you keep repeating the same choices. So if you're listening to this now, whether you're 21 or 29 or 35, let this be your moment, your turning point, your reminder that the future isn't promised, but it is shaped by what you do today. You don't get your 20s back, but you do get to decide what kind of story you'll tell about them. Make it one you're proud of,